Donald Trump is financially destroying the Republican Party. That's where we start today. You know, Michelle Cottle wrote a very interesting op-ed in the New York Times called "Trump is Financially Ruining the Republican Party," to which I say yes, and that's probably great news, actually. So this is something we've been talking about for a while, and we'll link to the piece because I think Michelle does a very good job in sort of outlining it. The Republican Party should really think very carefully about the financial risks of associating and aligning too closely with Donald Trump, because his involvement in the party so far has been a disaster electorally, but it's also led to a really difficult financial situation for the Republican Party, particularly as Trump has now taken over the Republican National Committee. And there are campaign finance issues. There are issues relating to the allocation of donations, issues related to the ethics and honesty of people donating to the RNC, presumably to help elect Republicans around the country, and ultimately to have that money funneled in to Donald Trump's legal fees. And Trump does have a history at the end of the day of financially ruining businesses of different kinds. If you look at Trump, the businessman, we've said before, there's the allure of Trump, the reputation of Trump, the idea of Trump. And then there's the reality, which is that he may have done better financially simply by investing all the money he got from his family and his dad in the S&P 500 50 years ago and letting it ride, or however many years ago it was. And there are all of the failed ventures. There's the vodka, there's the steaks, there's the casinos that went bankrupt, there's the university, which ended up being a total scam, leading corporate bankruptcies of all kinds associated and attached to Trump. And so when you take that background and connect it to political fundraising and campaigning, you start to see that it is a very risky business venture for the Republican Party and the RNC to align itself with a guy who often leaves financial devastation all around him. He always comes out somehow okay. And we can talk about the different ways in which that's the case. But we are now starting to see this directly affect the Republican Party in a bunch of different ways. We've already talked about the fundraising numbers. Biden is dramatically out fundraising Trump, doubled his fundraising, had double the cash on hand, raised more in one event, Biden did, than Trump raised in all of February. At one point had $100 million more on hand than did Donald Trump. So the fundraising, the money in, isn't going very well. And this is already starting to affect Trump's ability to campaign and Trump's reliance on big money donors who are increasingly hesitant to support him may also end up being a pretty significant problem. Now, Michelle Cottle in the op-ed is sort of telling Republicans, hey, this is going on. She says, hey, Republican Party, pay attention. You're being herded toward potential financial ruin. The red flags are smacking you in the face. Wake up and smell the grift. The problem is there isn't really anyone left in charge to actually tell about the fact that this is what's happening financially, because the RNC has now been taken over by Lara Trump and another Trump loyalist. They have said the money that comes in is for Trump. We're going to pay his legal fees. Trump's legal bills are already reportedly exceeding $100 million, and it may get even crazier as the criminal trials start. There's a fundraising agreement which allows for the prioritization of legal bill payments over party committee allocations, which is something that we've never seen before. And this is also part of the problematic Republican strategy. There are financial problems facing a bunch of Republican state parties where Republicans in some of the less crazy red states are saying, look, they clearly are they're going with Trump again. He's already clinched the nomination. He just has to be crowned at the convention, but he's already clinched the nomination. At the state level, there's a lot of MAGA type people that are involved. What am I donating for? So I'm not going to donate. And that's causing problems not only for Trump's national fundraising and the RNC, but also for state level Republican parties. There are leadership disputes in many states. Do they want a MAGA or a non-MAGA state party? This is happening in Arizona. This is happening in Michigan. This is happening in Georgia, states that could be, they were crucial states in 2020 and could be crucial again. And then look at what's happening even with national leadership, where you've got they ousted Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, brought in MAGA Mike Johnson, but you already have Marjorie Taylor Greene and some other Republicans saying, I don't know that I want this guy to be Speaker of the House either, which further depresses and hurts fundraising. Now, on the other side, You look at what's happening on the Democratic side and on the Democratic Party. Even though there are claims that there's no energy whatsoever behind Joe Biden, you see insane fundraising numbers for Joe Biden, doubling Trump, sometimes tripling Trump, way more cash on hand. You see, while Trump and the Republicans are firing staffers, as I previously told you, and closing down election offices, you see Biden opening election offices and hiring people in different parts of the country. There are no leadership challenges happening right now on the Democratic side. There is quite a wide tent, even though I know that there are many who say, no, the Democratic Party is divided. Look at what's happening on Israel-Gaza, for example. Yeah, there are disagreements, but for the most part, the party is really united compared to what you're seeing on the Republican side, which is that a full nearly 40% of primary voters voted for someone other than Donald Trump. And yet Trump is still the nominee. And now a lot of those 40% are saying, I might stay home. I might go from Haley to Biden. I don't know what I'm going to do. So this is a reminder that the now 8 years, the roughly 8-year Trumpian takeover of the Republican Party has lost them many elections, is now putting them in potential financial ruin. And they don't seem to have even the most minor ability to get out of this. So there's a couple of outcomes here. The first is very unlikely. Somehow, the Republican Party realizes Trump's a disaster. They get rid of Trump as a candidate. They get rid of Trumpists from the RNC. But it seems both too late for that and that there really isn't a majority of Republicans that actually want to do that. So then we get to the most ideal outcome for us on the left, which is they run the party into the ground. They lose the House in 2024. They continue not having the Senate. Joe Biden gets reelected in 2024. It's the end of Trump's political career. And hopefully, MAGA Trumpism is just destroyed, the last vestiges of which maybe just become normal Republicans, or maybe they go away altogether. And then we start 2028 in a situation where the Democrats will be putting up a new candidate because Biden will be term limited, and Republicans will have to come up with something other than MAGA Trumpism. And maybe we have a new awakening in America. That's the most optimistic perspective. The alternative is unfortunately very ugly, which is that this insane fundraising scheme and selection of Trump once again leads to 4 more years of Trump in the Oval Office. And then in 2028, whoever is the heir apparent to MAGA Trumpism, maybe it's Don Jr., maybe it's Eric Trump, maybe it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know. These are all very scary names. Try to take over and MAGA Trumpism continues. So for me, the stakes are clear. And part of it is I welcome the financial disaster that is the Republican Party. It's thanks to Trump, but it's potentially a good thing for the left. Let's make sure we don't squander this opportunity in 2024, because it really is feeling like an inflection point. And that's a point I'm going to continue to make as we get closer to November. As many of you have heard me say before, when I go to a wine shop, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm Argentinian, and I still know almost nothing about wine. So if you're like me, you might be able to use some help. Our sponsor, Naked Wines, has you covered. Naked Wines is a subscription service that will connect you to the finest independent winemakers on the planet. You pay a fraction of the price you'd normally pay in stores because they cut out the retail middlemen. You get exclusive access to hundreds of top quality award-winning wines. They get delivered however often you want, perfect for any type of wine drinker. You'll get background information on the bottle. You have friends over. You can seem like you know something by telling them something about the wine. My girlfriend likes white wine. I'm more of a red guy by necessity just because I'm Argentinian, even though I know absolutely nothing. So we get like a split box that has a few bottles of each. Every bottle is a passion project from some independent winemaker. So you're literally making an independent winemaker's dream come true. You'll get your first 6 bottles for $39.99. Go to nakedwines.com/Pacman and click enter voucher at the top and type in Pacman as the code and as the password. The link is down below.